When it comes to bulletproofing your Hummer H2, quite often while researching this topic on the forums, I'd read about upgrading to the external transmission cooler, upgrading your tie rods to kryptonite, and those two upgrades were more or less all that was recommended quite often in regards to bulletproofing your vehicle. These two upgrades are very important. However, from my personal experience working on this vehicle from head to toe, I know there's a lot more that needs to be done to bulletproof these vehicles. With that being said, the list that I have for you guys, or my recommendations for that matter, it's not 100% complete list. However, I am confident it's pretty close. With that being said, I've got quite the list in front of me right now. So just be patient with me. I'm going to be jumping back and forth on my iPad. Okay, let's begin. Cleaning the vehicle. And when I say cleaning the vehicle, I'm not talking about getting it ready to go to a car show. When I say cleaning your vehicle, I mean all the trims coming off. All right. This is going to be absolutely horrific up here. Over time, it gets jammed with mud, debris, bugs are living up there. It's absolutely disgusting. These rust, you're gonna have to take these bad boys off. The rock bars, take these off if you actually have them. Clean the rust out of them. Liners come off. There's gonna be dirt and buildup and dust behind them. Again, these front cowls are gonna have to come off. Dirt and dust behind them. Radiators, you actually take off your radiator, and down there, leaves at the bottom, leaves get jammed up over time. Just cleaning your engine, ladies and gentlemen, it's just important to have a good, solid, clean engine. So what else? Behind here, again, dirt builds up over time. This is gonna have to come off. Dirt builds up over time. Drain ports get clogged up. More or less, everything needs to come off. It's no joke. It's literally a project in itself, just cleaning the vehicle. Water leaks. If you're new to my channel, I do have the playlist on my channel. I've documented approximately 25, 30 plus water leaks that need to be sealed. What can happen over time is that just from the water coming in, like on the driver's side, I've read stories online where the water's coming in from up top and it'll rust out. Literally the whole floor will rust out. So, and you get like a musty smell. Now, I've deep cleaned my whole vehicle. Literally, I've stripped out the entire vehicle and pressure washed the carpets. So again, the water leaks cause buildup of sticks, rocks, debris. It smells inside. You're gonna have to seal all those water leaks. Cleaning the inside of the vehicle, in and out. You're gonna have to take everything out. If you want it done correctly, what will happen is that, again, over time, I mean, this goes back to, if you go check out my sound deadening series, behind these doors, dust buildup over time. All of these pillars back here, there will be dust buildup. I saw some slight dust buildup on the roof even. So again, when it comes to cleaning the H2, when I cleaned my carpets, I kid you not, like brown and like black goo was coming out of the carpets. It was absolutely horrific. Okay, your stock fuel pump. Your fuel pump is going to need replaced with a Delphi upgrade. Fuel pumps rust out. So if I was, again, someone you're buying an H2, you can do it yourself. You're gonna have to get the fuel pump upgraded. While you're down there, you might as well upgrade to the Spicer U-joints on the drive shaft. That's gonna make your acceleration much easier. It's gonna be less pressure on the transmission. If you do plan on owning the vehicle up north or in the Rust Belt, you're gonna have to de-rust, potentially de-rust, and then powder coat the frame. I recommend using Eastwood. That's what I've used on my frame. All right, you may need a new brake line. The external transmission cooler, okay, this is definitely a priority upgrade, at least to buy you time when you get your H2. The reason that you do this upgrade is that the way the transmission runs on the stock setup, it goes into the radiator. However, the stock radiators are known to fail over time. When they fail, the coolant mixes up and then goes back to the transmission, and your transmission fails. So by installing the external transmission cooler, you're bypassing the radiator. All the fluid is going directly into the external transmission cooler. The external transmission cooler drops temperatures, depending on the season, from literally 50, 60 to 100 degrees. So that's why you get that external transmission cooler. Okay, moving on. Stock air intake. Okay, if you guys have been sticking with me, you know I've gone back to my stock air intake. These engines, these LS 6.0s, they run much better with the stock intake. Don't run cold air intake on these. Don't get sucked into the hype. Gaining 10 horsepower. All right, trust me, I've been there. I've done that. I spent $500-600 on the cold air intake. It's not worth it. Save your cash. Buy something for your mom. Okay, moving on. As I had mentioned earlier, these radiators are known to rust out. I've read reports of them rusting out around 100,000 miles. This is the actual cover, but it's behind here is your radiator. And I recommend installing a new radiator. The stock radiator does not have a petcock. If you do not know what that is, it's a drain port, okay? Simply put, the stock setup, there isn't a valve on the stock setup to drain the old fluid out. With these old radiators, or the stock radiators rusting, they don't have a petcock. Spend a couple $100 extra, get an upgraded radiator. All right. Okay. Rebuild your transmission. This is a big one, okay? I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again for the next 1,000 videos. The stock transmissions on these vehicles, okay, keyword stock, they last approximately, on average, 125,000 miles. Some people get as high as 200. I've read reports as high as 300,000 miles, and that's incredible. However, those stories, that's the extreme range, okay? On average, it's going to be like 125,000. I've read reports, some people, their trannies go at like 70. I've seen 95, 100. So with that being said, you want to bulletproof your H2. Now, when it comes to me, my transmission, I personally educated myself. I dropped the transmission off my vehicle. I rebuilt it. I reinstalled it. You're going to want to rebuild your Hummer H2 transmission with the 3/4 input drum. That's the Sonex 3/4 input drum, and other high quality Sonex parts, including sun shell, reaction shell. All right, you can get the GPZ clutch packs. Those clutch packs are designed for heavy duty vehicles. All right, so again, if you're buying one of these vehicles are 20 years old. On average, they have 125 plus thousand miles. Just get the transmission rebuilt right off the gate. Include the $5,000 that it's going to take if you're going to take it to someone, $5,000-6,000, and get it done. You get the transmission done correctly, it'll last you probably 300,000 miles with my build. I'm confident that that's probably what I'm going to end up getting with my transmission rebuild that I completed. All right, moving on. Again, when it comes to the transmission rebuild, the torque converter has a clutch lining the torque converter will need to be replaced as well. In regards to what torque converter I used, I actually don't remember. It was a remanufactured unit. That's definitely something that you would have to look into. Okay, now if you guys noticed looking in the engine, you may have noticed that some parts have come out. All right, I got a part party over here. With that being said, you're going to want to install a new power steering pump. My part is coming in tomorrow. All right, the power steering pump on these Hummer H2s, from what I've read online, last approximately, again, 150,000. I've read 200,000 miles. It's one of those question marks where I actually, at this time, as of making this video, I do not know what a stock power steering pump lasts. I've read a couple reports of people losing their power steering pump at 200K. That's what, when mine went out, was exactly 200K. The power steering pump that you're going to want to install, it's made by PSC. It's about 300 bucks. You're going to want to also replace all your lines. Okay, while you're replacing your lines, I actually got a new power steering radiator made by Dorman. It looks all right. So that being said, replace these lines. All right. What can happen is that micro leaks, the lines can look beautiful, but just a simple micro leak can happen, and the power steering just bleeds out. So I'll be talking about how I did this and products that I used for my power steering lines. I did some custom work. So with that being said, power steering pump, I highly recommend that if you're someone buying one of these vehicles, let's say your Hummer H2 has 150,000, I'd recommend immediately upgrading to the power. I'd recommend upgrading to the power steering pump as soon as you get the vehicle. It's just one of those things, and upgrading the lines, it's going to need to be done. Get it done. Get the new parts in there so you're not getting stranded somewhere. Okay. Oil leaks, stock gaskets are trash. Okay. Rear main seal. The rear main seal is, I guess, in front of the transmission. So you have to remove the rear main seal. Excuse me, you have to remove the transmission to get to the rear main seal. So rear main seal, your valve covers, or excuse me, the valley cover. Hold on. These are your valve covers. Okay. There's a gasket right here. These little, there's little grommets right here that leak. If you ever look at these and it looks like a coffee stain coming down, what that actually is it's an oil leaking. Now this valley cover right here, okay, the original stock piece that comes with your engine, it's a flawed design. The engineers at GM came out with a new cover. That's what's installed here. However, the new cover has a bad design. You actually have to drill holes to get the oil to flow better. So I'll be talking about all of the engine upgrades in my step-by-step, or actually it's more or less a discussion of what needs to be done in my rebuilding power series. Okay, so again, that's going to need to be done. Okay, oil pan, again, your oil pan is a trash gasket. All the oil gaskets they're bad gaskets from the factory. Over time they leak. You're going to want to upgrade those with Felpro. From my experience, Felpro's never let me down. I've read nothing but great things. I've had a lot of great success using those gaskets. So again, all oil leak gaskets are going to need to be replaced. All right, check out my rebuilding or restoring power series to get a little more detailed explanation, and I'll have the parts listed in there. Okay. Again, oil pressure sensor unit. If there's a filter inside, you're gonna have to remove that filter. It's like probably the size of my finger. Some of them have it, some of them don't. This is very, very important, guys, okay? I want you guys to repeat after me. Do not upgrade knock sensors if you have no issues. Just make sure they're torqued to 15 pounds. We're gonna say that again. Do not upgrade knock sensors if you have no issues. Just make sure they're torqued to 15 pounds. And we're gonna say it one more time for fun. Just everybody join me. Do not upgrade knock sensors if you have no issues. Just make sure they're torqued to 15 pounds. So why did I reiterate that so many times? The reason is that the stock ones are actually really, really good. Yes, they may look like they came out of a T-34 or from a battlefield from Vietnam. With that being said, just make sure they're torqued to 15 pounds. There's been a lot of bad runs over the years with knock sensors. I thought it was a good idea to put in new knock sensors. They failed on me. So then I had to tear this thing out. Then I put in another set of knock sensors. They failed on me. So only if your knock sensors are working, guys, all right, just keep them. Trust me. The last thing you want to do is, I literally had to dig into this engine probably 7 or 8 times just for those knock sensors. So you don't want to have to do that. Battery upgrade, okay? I've talked about this in my Restoring Power series. This is the biggest, baddest battery you could get, Odyssey Extreme. Get it, all right? Your Hummer H2 has a very large electrical system. Smaller batteries aren't going to be able to power it up in cold weather. Oh, those valley covers, I talked about drilling holes on both sides. You're going to want to flush all your fluids. I recommend AMSOIL. I'm an AMSOIL dealer. If you need the fluids, reach out to me. Okay, this is a big one. Your CV axle bolts, okay? You're gonna wanna tighten those down to 58 foot-pounds. Over time, they become loose. If you're someone who wants better steering, better control, just a more enjoyable experience, get under there and tighten them down to 58 foot-pounds. Here's the biggest upgrade, all right? The most underrated upgrade that most of you probably had never even heard of. It's called a bump stop. I'd be willing to bet that probably the majority of you guys are driving around with no bump stops. Okay, let me show you guys. All right, see that bump stop? You can see it in the middle right there. It's kind of like, I don't know, it looks like a thing of French fries or whatever. All right, you can get it for like 30 bucks on Amazon. It's just the best upgrade. You wouldn't believe. The bump stop affects all parts of your vehicle, including your transmission, everything. Word of caution, there's 2 bump stops in the rear, 2 on the front. The 2 on the rear, they were actually like rusted into like the holes up top. So I didn't even replace those. The ones in the front, there was nothing left. So, okay. So again, I wouldn't touch those ones in the back. Some ones in the front you have to worry about. Okay, restoring power to the 6.0. This goes more or less into my mini series. I'm not going to go too in depth right now, but in my mini series, I'm going to discuss with you guys so that everything goes smooth the right time. We're going to pull all this out and then we're going to put it all back in one time. So you're not going to be like me and have to go in here 20 times figuring things out. So free of charge, guys. Just go in there, watch my videos. I'll tell you everything needs to be done. Place tape around. You can see, guys, a lot of this tape or whatever over time, even this wire conduit, okay, it breaks over time and it needs replaced. So something to keep in mind. New relays, all right. Tie rods. I've got the stock Moog tie rods, but eventually you're going to want to upgrade those to kryptonite. The reason is that the vehicle's too heavy and the tie rods snap if you do off-roading. Okay, grease fittings. It's actually something I've never done, but you want to make sure all the fittings are greased. Flush your engine, all right. Piston soak, I'll be talking about that and the products that I used. Clean airbag sensors, okay. I know, like, why do you need to clean the airbag sensors? I believe there's a defect. So again, so it's something, in case something that happens, you want to make sure your airbags work. So belts, pulleys, what else? Here's something else. I've never seen anybody talk about this. All right, these handles need replaced. This is not a stock handle. This is an upgraded handle. The stock one goes out over time. The new one, it's a lot higher quality, and you can just feel it just by holding it in your hand. A lot sturdier. The original one's really light. This one's a lot beefier, but this is something that you're gonna have to upgrade if you guys stick with me. It's coming along. We're gonna get the red Italian leather seats next year. Okay, let's come back to the iPad. Let's see what's going on. What else to have for you guys? We're almost done. Okay, snow cone, building like a snow cone around your windshield wiper motor. Actually, if you guys been sticking with me, the reason my actual motor didn't fail, the handle, the turn signal handle failed, and that actually stopped. That was why my windshield wipers weren't working. Okay, and then the last thing you'll have to end up doing is actually getting your Hummer H2 tuned by Black Bear Performance. They have sales, definitely save a couple $100. Yeah, when you catch one of their sales. But after everything I've done to my H2, and then once I got the tune completed, I can't tell you guys, when I started on my H2, I had probably like 30% of potential power. Most of you guys out there, and I'm not being negative when I say this, are probably driving your Hummer H2s with 30 to probably 45% of power. With that being said, if you guys follow my channel, you guys listen to all my advice, I'm running my Hummer H2 on 100% max efficiency right now. I'm getting 100% of the power of this vehicle. And let me tell you guys, it's nothing short of an unparalleled driving experience. From where I started until where I am right now, it's night and day. So you guys stick with me. If you have any questions, reach out, and I promise you, I'm going to give you the best experience driving your Hummer H2.